So my goal is to make this one of the most tactical YouTube channels for business owners who just want to be as removed from sales and customer facing roles as much as possible, and people that are really focusing on profit. And so what I'm going to be doing is documenting every single day what I'm doing in the business, and my goal is to essentially turn our company around, fix a lot of the problems that we face. We're 1 year old for this specific company, and grow to about a $300,000, $400,000 a month business with a sole focus being on profit. And I'm going to be showing you exactly what I'm doing, the decisions I'm making to get to that point. And so hopefully you're going to get some value from this. And if there's anything that I'm doing wrong, then this will serve as a eternal reminder that business is not as easy as people make it out to be online. So really quick recap on who I am. I'm not going to do a full recap because it can't be fucking asked. My name is Matthew. We're on a software company. We do about $100,000 a month. This is our best month, $150,000. Recently, we've had a bit of problem. Our profits have basically gone to fucking zero. Our return on ad spend has tanked. Our CAC has just gone through the fucking roof. And I think I know what the problem is. And so essentially, we've just turned for ads. We're doing a full restructure on the front end. And we're building out a much better business model to improve our profit. And we're going into year 2. Now, in our first 12 months, if I just show you basically the progress of the business, we started this as a software company, and all we're doing is we're selling primarily yearly subscriptions. We run automated webinar funnels, and I don't give a fuck about really anything else other than marketing and sales. So we'll talk about product maybe in the future, but to be honest with you, this is all just marketing and sales. So all the way through to 12 months, the end of April, May, and we'll go to here, you'll see the very steep decline in revenue after January. And to be honest with you, I don't care, I'm just showing all these numbers. And so you'll see what happened. We just had an absolute blistering launch up until January. And then we had a lot of problems that we had to really knock back ad spend, and our profit dropped a little bit as well around here. And so we stabilized at around $60,000 to $80,000 per month. And then last month in May, turned off all the ads. We made an executive decision to not rebrand, but change a lot of our front end offer. And so we've basically just not been running any traffic. So we've just been running rebuilds essentially. So last month we're rebuilding a little bit of new customers, but rebuilding a lot of people that bought in April of 2025. So we're getting rebuilds coming through. So it's a lot of just recurring revenue right now. And then we're going to hopefully turn this around, and we'll document the process of me kind of scaling this thing back up. So for my American friends, 500, or we'll call it 600,000. We've also got some, what do you call it? We've also got some monthly recurring revenue on a different payment processor that's not in here. It's not included, so it's a little bit more than this. But we're pulling towards $1 million in revenue collected from this. Did about $800,000 in revenue in about our first 12 months. So I'm pretty happy with the progress. But as you can see, we've got some problems that I want to turn around and fix. We had a pretty good month here. January is always great for our market. For reference, we're B2C. We're not a B2B. That's why I have nothing to sell you guys. In the future, I'll sell you guys some shit. Don't worry about that. But hopefully this will serve as a reminder that we can turn the company around, and you guys can see what's going to happen. And if not, well, then there's going to be a very public, really cool kind of situation for me. So let me kind of just give some context about who I am, what we're doing, what the product is, because you guys have no idea who the fuck I am. And then I'm going to go through and talk a little bit more about what the problem is that we're facing, what I plan to do to solve it, and then we'll go through the tactical shit. So I won't do this in every video because context is no one really gives a fuck. But anyway, I run a software company. It's mostly B2C. We sell yearly subscriptions. I run an automated webinar. So I used to do them live. So pretty much the first 3 or 4 months here, I was running live webinars. But I hate doing live webinars. I hate speaking to customers. I hate doing sales calls. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of being front-facing on the front of the brand either. You know, I'm the kind of person that wants to sit behind the scenes and just make money, and I don't really give a fuck how, I don't really give a fuck about sitting on sales calls and stuff. So I run automated webinar funnels. We sell yearly subscriptions. We have some upsells, bits and bobs, about $450 AOV. And as you can see, the revenue that we're driving here is all recurring. So this is $800,000 in annual recurring revenue. So it's not just one-time transactions. That's all recurring. Not all of it will obviously go through and rebuild. We can talk in the future about what our rebuild rate is. And this channel is going to be pretty much nothing to do with the product. It's going to be nothing to do with our back end, like what the product is and our service and all that. It's all going to be about sales and marketing, ascension funnels, and how we're doing that. So here's the problem. In January, we had to change the name of our company. And you can see the sharp decline of shit that has happened since that happened. So on the 22nd of January, essentially, it was around December time that another company reached out to us with the same name, not the same industry, but they had a trademark, and they were like, look, bro, change the name. And I was like, fuck. Because we'd spent like 10 months or 11 months marketing under this name, building a little bit of traction, a little bit of SEO, and a YouTube channel and the whole 9 yards. And so we had to change everything over. So our conversion rate on our webinar fell like through the floor. So let me just kind of share my screen. Now, this is November. We spent $47,000 on ads. Now, the reason why I'm showing November is because comparatively, if I show November versus April, which is our last month of really spending, because I turned off ads in May while we're doing a full rebuild. In April, we spent 46,000. So it's a comparable amount of ad spend. And the other reason is we changed our targeting. We tried some worldwide targeting around December and January, and we aggressively scaled to about $100,000 a month in ad spend to pick up that January rush. It's a really good month for our business. And so basically, let me just kind of run through the numbers here. So November the 1st to the 30th of 2025, we're doing about a 1.6 times return on investment. This is all on front end purchases, right? And we had no upsells at this point. This is just raw dogging, like an automated webinar funnel, selling a $340 a year subscription product at a 1.6. I was happy with this, right? It's not great. You know, spend $47,000 on ads. We do about $80,000 in revenue. That's $31,000 in profit. We have team costs, but I've got one developer and one customer support. So I'm happy. I'm like sitting tidy on like $20,000 a month in pure profit into the bank account. It's doing all right. You know, it's not, I would like it to be better, but I get a little bit lazy. So if we compare that though, and we say, okay, what is our conversion rate here? We have our unique customers of about 225 versus the number of landing page views that we get. Essentially, I have clearer numbers somewhere else, but we were getting about 3.89% conversion rate. I'll just increase my face here to hide the shit. I'll show this stuff in a second at the bottom. But we were getting about a 3.89% conversion rate and about $46,000 in ad spend, and our cost per registration, that puts us at, where is it? Fucking hell. Cost per reg is about, one sec. All right, we had about 6,011 registrations that month. So just for argument's sake, I'm just going to put this number up just to change this. I don't know, fuck it, whatever it was. Our AOV was about 340 though, so just going to give you a bit of a ballpark. It was about, you can see here, it was about a $7.80, $7.90 cost per lead. So we'll do 38% maybe. Fuck it, thereabouts. Right, so we're doing roughly about this. But the key thing here is two things happened between November and April. Number one, we rebranded the company, and since the name of the brand changed, on our webinar, I exported all of the chats, and there was a lot of people questioning, like, who the fuck is this company? Because in the webinar, I'm saying the old brand name because I'm lazy and I didn't change the webinar. You know, I've made mistakes, whatever. We can lament on that later on. But they're saying, what is this old brand name? Because now you're this new brand name. The Facebook page is this, you're this. I can't find any information about the old brand name on the internet. And so it just basically just fell off the earth. And what happened, if I go back to show you the conversion rate. So we, just for reference, put this into perspective. In December, we did about a 1.59 return on ad spend. In January, we did about 1.55. You can see the aggressive scale there. So the return, the true ROAS was about a 1.5, 1.6. In February onwards, we started losing money. And this is where the real problem started happening. And I was trying to work out what the issue was. And I think this is the issue. But you can see here, the 1st to the 28th, I think it went down to like a 1.1 or something, or 1.2. It really was not great at all. So it went down to 1.17. Now, obviously, you spend $64,000 a month on ads, you drive $74,000 in revenue. That's a profit of 10 grand. But I've got to pay myself, I've got to pay my team members, I've got to pay my developers. We have token costs. We're an AI software. So essentially, the business is losing money at this point. But I'm kind of like what Jeremy Haynes calls Chad ramming spend at this point. I'm like, this must work. Like, I've got to turn this around because it was working literally like 2 weeks ago. What the fuck has happened? And so I'm just ramming the spend. I'm testing new creatives. I'm testing new things on the front end, and nothing is working. We're just, now at this point, we're losing money. So in March, it's a 1.09. And then April, I think we had a bit of a temporary lift at one point, and then it just dropped back down again. And so 1.06. So essentially, we're just liquidating our ad spend right now. So I'm spending 46,000, we make 49,000. And so it gets to May, and I'm like, yeah, fuck this shit. I'm turning the ads off. And so I turn the ads off, and I'm doing the analysis I'm going through. I'm doing like this full bottleneck thing. I need to pay for HiROAS actually. But anyway, the point is shit's not looking good, all right? And so if we go from April, the 1st to the 30th, one key thing happened. Well, two things. Number one, our cost per lead has gone up to $11.36. Now, our CPMs of $88 versus if we go back to November, and this is what's interesting about this is because November is literally slap bang in Black Friday Q4. Our CPMs are about $90. So CPMs are pretty much exactly the same. Right, if I go through to our click-through rates, you can see a 3.99. Our cost per outbound click, we're doing about a $2.26 cost per outbound click. So 3.99, $2.26. We go to April. What did I say? 3.99%, 2.26. We're at $2.69 and a 3.3. So our click-through rate has gone down a little bit, and our cost per click has gone up a little bit. And obviously that's led to a bit of a knock-on effect with our conversion rate here, $11.36. Now, in April, our registration rate reference, right, for our webinar, we just run to a landing page. They have to opt in to go to the webinar. It's an automated just-in-time webinar. They get straight into the live room, and then they buy from that. It's about an hour long, an hour and a half long webinar. Pitch comes in around 45 minutes, thereabouts. Typical B2C kind of offer. So we're getting about 25% of people registering in the month of April. So for reference, 4,051 leads over 15,866. Landing page views, about 25% registration rate. Now, back in November, it was a little bit better. We were getting about a 32% registration rate. And so the other things that I started looking at was what's our conversion rate. So we have unique customers, and I pulled this actually from our payment processors, so I'll go through this roughly. But our conversion rate in the month of November was a 3.89%. That's from shows, like total people that turned up to the webinar, total payments. So the number of new customers divided by the number of people that actually turned up was 3.89%. Now that's dropped down to a 2.74%. And so have a look at this, all right? If we keep the same registration rate and all of our stats the same, bearing in mind this is our current stats here, about 2.7%, basically losing money on the front end. Just by changing our conversion rate back to a 3.89, we get back to a 1.5 times return on ad spend, which is what we were getting in January. That's what we got in December. And then it went bang straight down to a 2.7% conversion rate in like fucking February, March, April. And I don't know what's been happening. And so here's my gut instinct. My gut instinct is this, is I know a while back, I'm not exactly sure the dates, I changed what our landing page looks like. That was the first thing. The second thing is I also had to rebrand the name of the company. And the webinar still speaks about the old branded name of the company, right? It's around our system that we're selling on the webinar. And I didn't think that would make much of a difference. And as soon as I changed it, like we were still making sales, and day by day, week by week, you didn't really notice it. But when you start spreading it out over a couple of months of really raw data coming in, you're not taking into account these peaks and troughs, you just look at the averages, the conversion rate has definitely dropped. Now, there's been some more competition in the marketplace. We're obviously spending a little bit more money on ads. You know, we've been doing this for a year now, so maybe we've reached some point of saturation. But here's my gut instinct, which is the webinar just is not converting as well. Not to mention that we're operating on pretty razor-thin margins. If essentially a 1% drop from 3.7 to 2.7 can basically lose me money, I'm not comfortable with that. Right? We're operating on razor-fucking-thin margins. Now, sure, if I can get this back to a 32% registration rate, it puts us a little bit more in profit, but I'm not happy with this because, you know, with a software company, really you just want to be making profit on the product that you're selling. I'm going to show you what we can do on the back end, but if we can get back to a 32% registration rate, which is what we had in November, and a 3.89% conversion rate on the front end, we get back to a 2 times return on ad spend on the front end, and I'm happy with that. Now, that means obviously if we get back to spending about $90,000 a month on ads, okay, well, that doesn't fucking work, but whatever. Right, $46,000 a month on ads, like we did in April. We'll do $88K in revenue. That's a profit of $42,000. It's not anything to write home about, but that's pretty decent, all right? And so this is the target. These are the things that I'm going to be focusing on to get us back to that point. And so basically what I've done is I've just essentially rebuilt our entire webinar, all right? And I've just gone from scratch, and I've rebuilt the entire thing. And what I did is I exported every single pending chat from our last webinar, which we spent I want to say like $300,000 on ads too. And I've said, what are the biggest objections that people are having around our offer that we're selling? And to be honest with you, I don't think that our opportunity vehicle that we're selling is a problem. I don't necessarily think we're getting saturated. No one's talking about any one of our competitors. You know, no one's talking about Claude or Anthropic or OpenAI or anything like that. But the big ones are the trust in the webinar is quite low at certain points. Some of the objections I'm just not handling at all. And some basic ones that I can really easily change. So what I did is I ran our chat through Claude and I categorized them by objections that happened at the pitch. I categorized them by objections around the product, internal beliefs, external beliefs, trust-based beliefs, all that kind of thing. And I'll go through each one of these now. So our biggest, pitch window objection that we're seeing, by the way, this is just blowing out the brand name, is the fact that a lot of people request a monthly plan. Now, that's going to happen. We sell a yearly subscription to a software, so that's kind of unsurprising. We're going to a B2C market, so a lot of people don't have any money. But I also watched back on the webinar, and there was a point where I say basically like it's £249 a year, and so you can get access to that for just It's basically £20 a month. And so people are like, can I not just pay the monthly option then? And so we're going to remove that. The other issue is we're a UK-based company, and this is a big issue here, which is people are basically asking us what is the price in US dollars, and it's an automated webinar, so I can't just like respond and say it's $340 fucking dollars. And so that is causing a lot of people confusion. And our biggest market is the United States, and I'm charging in Great British pounds. And so I think we need to basically just change our price to reflect what the real price is in US dollars. My only concern is that is essentially to an absolute idiot who can't understand currency conversions. £249 is $340. So it's essentially, to an idiot, it's like an extra $100 to them. It's like it makes it feel more expensive, which is my main hesitation around doing it. But I think we're gonna have to try it. The next one is can't afford it. Fuck all I can do about that other than front end targeting. And then this is a big one. You'll see how big this is later on. Actually, the number of people that complain around that time that the webinar's not live, which again, we're running automated webinars. There's not much I can do about that. And then about 8% of people, and this is only people that write in the chat. And don't forget, there's going to be a lot of people that are actually in the webinar that are thinking these things and aren't even writing them. But a lot of people about like the rebranding of the company, a lot of people wanting some form of guarantee or risk reversal, which we don't even have any risk reversal. And then this is all a bunch of just like other shit, right? This is kind of menial crap. But the point is like, I started to see quite clearly like what the problems are in the business. And that was the first thing. So I'm like, okay, I can either go through our old webinar and just add those things in, or I can rebuild the entire thing from scratch. So let me just kind of show you the other ones. So this one is huge, right? This is trust erosion signals. So these are things that people are saying where they don't trust us. The biggest one is people questioning whether or not the webinar is live. 62 individual people comment that in the chat. Obviously, as soon as they think that the webinar is not live, bang, they're not buying. This is obviously the biggest problem with doing automated webinars. You're going to get this. There's not much we can do about that. But we have seen, and this is the thing, and I hate when people don't talk about their numbers, so I will make more videos about the actual KPIs we're getting. But one thing that people say all the time is just run live webinars. You can get better conversion rates. But what people don't take into account is when you run a live webinar, you're getting a 25% show rate from cold paid traffic. So you're losing out. You're paying for 75% of your leads not to turn up, right? Not to mention you have a 25% registration rate on the front end. So 75% of your clicks aren't even registering, and 75% of the people that are registering aren't even turning up. So you're losing fucking thousands. Like for reference, right? If we're getting 4,000 people a month, we're running live webinars, right? You're only speaking to 1,000 of them on a live webinar. And yeah, maybe with 1,000 people, you can close out at we've seen about a 7% conversion rate, right? That's about 70 customers. 70 customers times by an average order value of $450. That's $31,000 in revenue. So we would have been doing worse off than we are right now by doing live webinars, because you make up that difference with automated. Yeah, you get a much worse conversion rate, but you get 100% of people showing up because it's literally fucking happening right now. So this is one thing that I've got to try and think about, because scared like this, the low trust is definitely causing us some problems. Like basically 61% of people that are commenting in the chat of low trust signals is bot chat, which is not as a real fucking chat. And then also the fact that the webinar's not live. I don't know what we can do about that, but it is what it is. There's certain things that I say on the webinar that do actually time it, like tag it to a certain time, because it was a previous live event that I ran. The other one is full scarcity. This is a big one. Is when I ran it live, we only had a set number of spaces, and we ran one of my previous live webinars as a paid one, and so people just don't believe the scarcity, which is fair enough. And then a bunch of other crap. All right, but those are the big ones. And then I won't show it, but there's a whole host of objections around the actual software itself, so the product, where people have questions about the product that I clearly don't answer. And so what I've basically decided to do in a nutshell is I've rebuilt the entire webinar from scratch. And this webinar, the focus of this is to basically just handle our most common objections that we get. So like internal beliefs, external beliefs they have, vehicle beliefs, the whole fucking 9 yards, just handle all of those different objections before they even come up, to the point that hopefully when we get to the pitch, then people aren't going to have the same objections that they're getting right now. The other thing that I'm going to focus on doing as well, it's just a bit annoying, is to make this a way more compliant webinar, is we can't really do value stacks anymore. And so we're not doing a value stack anymore. And so I'm really concerned as to how that's going to affect our conversion rate, because of the old traditional Russell Brunson value stacks, they rip, like generally they crush it whenever I do them. But you've got to be careful. So we've now changed that, and we're going to do just a yearly subscription, and we'll have to see how that converts. But the product, and I think the value stack is way better. The offer at the end is way better. And so all of these things add up, right? And what I've done right now, just to show you, is I'm launching some new ads tonight to the new webinar. So the new webinar that I built, I run a live one. We have the recording of it, I cut it all together in CapCut, got it ready to go, and now we have the ads going out at midnight tonight. Just a really low testing budget. This is a brand new webinar. It's a brand new offer. It's even a brand new opportunity that we're pitching on the front end. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how this is going to work. I'm a bit tentative to say that it's going to work better, but worst case scenario, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the old webinar, I'll re-record it, and I'll just go through all of our questions, and I'm going to re-update it and make it look a lot better. So I'm not too concerned, but essentially the focus here for me on the front end is fixing these two metrics, is getting our cost per reg back down and getting our conversion rate back up. And so if I can do those two things, then we'll be back to profitability on the front end, which is great. But this is the big thing that we're going to be focusing on. So I see a lot of people talking about this. In fact, this most recent video here that I just watched, or one of these videos from Ryan Cloggers, he speaks exactly about this. He talks about a low ticket to high ticket ascension model, which is interesting because we are already testing this. And I'm interested to see how this data turns out. But essentially, right, let's just take this as an example. Let's just knock that back to 25%. Let's assume we can get back to a 3.8%. We're back to 1.5. Now, that's not a great profit, but that's more than we've been getting in the last couple of months. I'd be happy if we can get back here. Then the next step is to get back to a 2x on the front end. So assuming this, here's what we're going to do. So our new offer essentially does something which I've never seen anybody do before on a live webinar or an automated webinar. So I'm going to keep it quiet for now. If it works, then I'll talk about it. But essentially, I'll explain what it is, but I won't show you how I present it. Essentially, we're giving everyone the opportunity to book in a sales call. And so the whole idea with this was born from the fact that I was getting a break-even funnel, which is a lot of people would look at this and be like, well, this is a great liquidation funnel for a high-ticket offer. The problem is we sell software, and so I don't want to become a coaching business, but at the same time I just want to make profit. And I recently tried to go through the process of selling the business, and to be honest with you, the way I did the maths, and I'll do a whole separate video on this at some point, is if we transition this into kind of like an ed tech or like a bit of a blend between coaching and software, then to be honest with you, like our profit would go through the fucking roof at our previous spend of about $90,000 a month. That even if we get a lower multiple for being a coaching / software business, we'd get a way bigger exit because our cash would be way better. We'd profit way more fucking money. And so I'm kind of like forcing myself right now just to keep our profit margins fucking tiny because I'm selling a low ticket product. So here's what we're going to do. If the stats remain the same, we're offering everyone to come through and book on a sales call. And so here's what I'm thinking. Right now we have an upsell where they can have a call with us and they just get like a 15-minute coaching call. We get like a lot of people taking that. And it's like a 90% show rate for those, or even like a nearly 100% show rate. Like a couple of people don't turn up, but they'll push the appointment back and then they'll turn up later on. So don't know the true stats, but like let's call it a 90% show rate. Let's just assume for argument's sake, right, that 65% of people who actually book in a sales call. Out of those people, I am very fucking confident that we're going to get an 80% show rate, right, or even a 90% show rate, but let's say 80%. Because at the end of the day, these guys have paid for this. The way that we present it is you have paid for this call. It's not available forever, so turn up to the fucking thing. Out of this, if you get from here around 107 customers, 70 people booking in, 56 people showing up, let's say 20% of them buy. We're selling a $3,000 coaching product on the back end. We can do split pay and all that crap. But $3,000, that's an extra $33,000 in revenue. So the way that this breaks down is we do $36,000 in annual subscriptions. Front end revenue is about $48K. We spent $46. This is obviously with our shit stats, right? But you're liquidating the front end, and then you're doing about $80,000 in total revenue per month, which is 1.7. I'm not happy with this because that's not great. But that puts you about a $35,000 profit margin. And so regardless, the goal is to get back to this metrics. If we get back to these metrics, you can start to see how this can really change. We'll do $88,000 in revenue on the front end. We'll be back to being profitable again, which I'm pretty confident we can do. Now we've identified where the floor is. Keep the same booking percentages. This will take our total return to a 3.27. And this is only at $46,000 in ad spend. Right? If I change this, if we change this back to what we were spending at our peak of $90,000 a month, in ad spend. Now, for reference, in January, if we go back to our ad manager, all right, fucking hell, I don't know, we were about like a 1.5, 1.59, I think it was, or 1.55 times return on ad spend. You're driving a decent amount of profit. Oh, fuck, I can't be asked. You're driving a decent amount of profit on the front end. But if we do $90,000 a month on ad spend again, if we improve our conversion rate, we get this back, and we get our registration rate back, I should probably highlight these two as well. These are the things in fucking red that I've got to try and fix. But if we get those back to where they were, then we're going to do $170,000 in revenue on the front end, which is pretty good, and a 1.93, which is better than we've had, which is a much healthier profit margin. You can start to see that the number of clients we're signing per month is a really healthy number. 40 customers a month buying a 3K product. Some of those will be PIFs, some of those will be split pays, but to be honest with you, any of the split pays will try and like finance those options. And the whole point will get to about $3,000 AOV. If they split pay with us, we'll try and collect as much of it to collect around $3,000. We'll probably do like if we finance, it's $4,500 in total. So that'll drive about $120,000 in revenue on the back end, which means that total profit, and this is a 30-day rolling profit, right? You're going to do about $300,000 in total revenue per month, $200,000 a month in pure profit, and that's a $2.4 million a year business. Now, the reason why this is important, right, is because let's say, for example, we go back to 0% and we go back to what we had beforehand. You can see that the profit over 12 months without any high ticket ascension stuff on the back end is about $500,000. And so at like as conservative, like let's say, I think we got valued at like a 6x multiple on this back end, equals that times by 6. That's a $3.2 million business, which is pretty healthy. That is pretty fucking high. Like, not gonna lie, that's a pretty healthy kind of multiple. If you were to get like a 3x multiple on EBITDA, right, and it's 3 times by whatever this is, but we put this back to 80% or whatever it was, 65% of our customers actually booking calls, you can start to see, obviously just ignore that now, right? You're getting a better multiple, you're getting a better exit. Yeah, your multiple's worse, but you're getting an exit of 5 million versus 3 million. And that's a healthy like a 6x on EBITDA is fucking insane for a small business like this. And so that's essentially the argument in kind of layman's terms as to why it kind of makes sense to add in a back-end ascension offer, because not to mention it makes our profit much more healthy. And if we can get this back to a 32%, you know, you're looking at a valuation of about a $7 million business for doing $2.5 million a year, which is really fucking healthy. And not to mention, you know, you're probably putting away in cash about $2 million a year. So this is the focus. This is the thing that I'm going to be spending my time on over the next couple of months, which is, can we get registration rate back up? Ideally, and this is the other thing that really fucks me off, right? We use WebinarJam. And the problem that I have with WebinarJam is you have to get people to register to come along to the webinar. And it's like, it's a B2C fucking offer. Like, this pisses me off because I'm sat there and I'm saying to myself, well, hang on a second, right? Right now, I'm spending, let's just call it $90,000 a month on ads. We're getting 31,000 people coming to the landing page that have expressed some form of interest around our offer from our ads. But I am forcefully having to make sure that 75% of the fuckers don't come along to our webinar because I have to have an opt-in page. And now we do collect some revenue from our email marketing on the back end. And so there's an argument to keep that opt-in page. But like, I do wonder, you know, if you had 100% of people fucking showing up, and you're probably not going to get that, right? Out of everyone that goes on the landing page, maybe, you know, I don't know what I need to track this, but what the button click rate is. But let's say even if you get like 50% of people actually going straight into your webinar and you just don't collect emails, and then you just give away a lead magnet in the webinar to collect emails, or you do a 2-step order form on the back and you collect emails there, you can start to see how like you get a 3x on the front end and then you get a massive upsell rate on the back end. It gives you a blended of a 5x return on ad spend, and you're absolutely ripping cash at that point. And so these are the key things that I'm spending my time and attention on right now, is getting these things back up. You know, if I can get these up, I cannot get 50% registration rate on cold if I have to collect emails. That's going to be maximum 30%, I think. I know I can probably get back to this point because we were doing that for like 7-12 months beforehand. But like, these are the things I'm trying to work out how to fix. And if I can do that, if I can figure out a way where we can just kind of spoof WebinarJam, we just send fucking fake email addresses, then get that to like a 50% take rate, see if that converts. Because here's the thing, right? You might get more people onto the webinar, but they may be less qualified people, so they probably would have never bought anyway. So your conversion rate will actually go down, but your net sales will stay the same. And so there's arguments to and pro, like, for these, because essentially what you're doing here is by pushing more people through to the webinar, they could do one of two things. One is that will decrease your conversion rate, because the extra people that are coming through that otherwise wouldn't have done because they'd have been stopped at the opt-in form, they won't buy, and ergo your conversion rate drops, but your net number of customers, right, stays the same. Or what could happen is actually you push more people through, your conversion rate stays the same, because is it reasonable to assume that if someone doesn't put their email in, they're not interested to buy the product? Not necessarily, right? So the argument could be, okay, just because someone didn't put their email address in, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to watch to the end and actually be interested in the offer and buy the product. And so this could go both ways. I think it's probably going to be a blend of the two. And so this is definitely something that I want to test if we can, and try and like, spoof WebinarJam and just push people in and see whether or not we can kind of fix this. Like, these are the big levers that we can actually pull on the front end, and it's really something that I want to start looking at. And obviously AOV is another thing that we can look at increasing. But yeah, so that's kind of like essentially where we're at right now, and I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing how this all kind of works out. And like I say, the big focus right now is basically, if we put this back to 46,000. Like, if we look at this in parts, if we just assume registration rate stays the same, I want to see whether or not the new webinar converts better, same, or worse than the old one. If it converts worse, I'm just going to go back to the old webinar with exactly the same structure. I'll go through and I'll answer all the questions we were getting in the chat. I'll re-record it, make it more up to date, and then run ads back to that one and see if we can get the conversion rate back up. And then if we can get the conversion rate back up, then we focus on the back end, and then we focus on this, getting our blended total return on ad spend way back up. So that's essentially where we're at. And obviously today I've got those ads ready to go. They're about to go live tonight. And then what I'll do is, once they're live, hopefully tomorrow I'll film a video and we'll get a bit of data by the morning or the evening whenever I finish filming the video, and we'll have some data. And then Monday through Friday I'll try and upload a video and talk about essentially what we're doing and hopefully document this process. So if you've got any questions, drop them in the chat. If you guys have got any kind of ideas, or you've tried things like this before and I'm going to go down the wrong route, please let me know in the chat, down below in the comments.